Hey everyone, my name is Chris. I believe that I should be live now and good to go, so howdy howdy. I am doing the top 5 games that I've learned in lockdown. I'm not calling it quarantine. I don't know if that's technically right or ever because we're just at home, not like actively sick or anything. So this has been, I'm just pulling up the chats here on my phone so I can follow along in case anybody has any smart alecky comments and says something that like I'm wrong or chance that they want a top 5 list or whatever it may be. How's it going, Jordan? So anyway, top 5 games that I learned that I played digitally. This is so I've played some physical games and learned some really good ones, but these are ones that I've played in a digital sphere or other. So one of them is perhaps a bit of a little cheat, but who cares? It is still a digital experience that I had. So I'm going to go ahead and start off here if everything goes right, and hopefully, because there's never been technical glitches while doing anything live before, this should be working here. I'm going to be going through this presentation, and you'll actually get to see some pictures and stuff. Advanced technology, top 5 digital games I learned in lockdown. Number 5, Russian Railroads. This is published by Z-Man Games. It's available on Board Game Arena, which is where most of these games are going to come from. This is one that I've really, really enjoyed. It is a worker placement game, and it has pretty simple worker placement, and I believe that my mouse cursor should be able to show up here. So basically, what's going to happen in Russian Railroads is you take these different actions in these different spots, and oh my, I don't know what happened there. Oh, okay, yeah. So it's just the presentation acting up. So basically, you just put workers out into these different spots, and you're trying to advance different trains along these 3 different tracks on your board here, and you're just trying to amass a huge amount of points. I mean, huge amount of points. I've won with almost 400 points. I think I had 397, and I was embarrassed that I couldn't quite hit 400. It's a very good game. Jordan says here, great game. We should play this one soon. I agree. I've only played it with 3 online, so it goes up to 4, obviously. I believe that you can see my mouse cursor swiveling around here. It would be interesting at 2. It would be very open. But this is the worker placement board. You just move along the different colored trains, and you can also move along these purple things down here that represent purple technology. Purple's a fruit, right? So Simpsons reference from a friend Jordan there. This is so basically you're just trying to push things as far down the tracks as you can possibly go. Look in here in the delayed screen. Yes, you can see my cursor. So the further you move the black train track piece along this track here, the more different colored tracks you'll unlock. Gray, brown, tan, and then white. And each of those trains will be worth increasing number of points depending on how far you've moved them along. So it's just a game about building up tons and tons and tons of points that you score recurringly every round. You have to have bigger numbers here to score more points further down the track. You move this purple dude along and he will score this many points, for going further down the track. It's just a massive amount of points. And like I said, 400 is, I'm sure that someone's like, 400. Good try, Chris. But yes, purple is a fruit, Jordan. That was my number 5 pick. That's Russian Railroads on Board Game Arena, which is just an excellent website. You'll see most of my picks here are from Board Game Arena. This next one, though, is not. My number 4 is a bit of a... It's not fully digital, and you'll see what I mean. Number 4 is Forgotten Waters by Plaid Hat Games. This is their next game in the Crossroads Games series, which basically consists of 1,000 different versions of Dead of Winter, and then Gen 7, which I don't know anyone who's played. And then this one. I really like a lot of things that Plaid Hat does. The Crossroads system is very clever and very smart. The storybook adventures, we have the spiral bound book and you flip through the pages and they become the map or they become the scenarios. That's great. As much as I enjoy Gloomhaven, I believe that you can see it right above me. Yeah, you can see the tip of it up there. As much as I love Gloomhaven, I'll be darned if I don't hate setting up like Okay, let's go through the stack of tiles. Where's tile LA2? This is LA2? No, that's IA2. So I like when these spiral bound books are used because then you don't have that issue of looking for all the right tiles and stuff. But what is Forgotten Waters? Well, normally it's actually just a board game, and so you have you have that book, and everyone gets to kind of put out the little pirate standees onto the different challenges out here, and then you read the challenge, like the secret revealed text of the. I guess it's open. It's just text over on the side, and you see what the challenges are. You roll dice, and you test different attributes, like your searching attribute here on number 2, or your fishing attribute, or your cannoning attribute, stuff like that. It's just a regular board game, which unfortunately, because of this little thing called coronavirus, it is a 3 to 7 player board game, which this is the worst time of ever, the last 100 years that a type of game like this could have come out. So poor Plaid Hat is just trying to, well, man, we're trying to come out with this great, awesome game, and it comes out in the middle of a pandemic, to no fault of their own. So they rushed and made a digital implementation of it, which only requires that a single player actually own a copy of the game, and everybody else can just kind of play through this digital interface that they made. And for something that they probably had less than 2 months to make, they did amazing. So in the game, everyone's in charge of like a different bookkeeping attribute. How strong is the hull of your ship? How many supplies do you have? All of these things over here. One person's in charge of keeping up to date the cannons and whatnot. And it's literally bookkeeping, but it does keep up to 7 players involved. So no one just kind of sits there and drifts away on their phone and just, what happened? Someone's like, Carl, load the cannon. We're in battle. And you're like, oh, okay. It keeps everybody engaged. It is a, how do you describe it? It's almost like a worker placement game. So you have a turn order here, but it's all cooperative. It's kind of touted as like a semi-cooperative game, but that's false. It's a cooperative game, but you can act a little bit selfishly because you want to try and get your best version of your story ending. Because maybe you're the bone pirate, or maybe you're the survivor of a great calamity, great attack pirate, or maybe you're trying to prove something pirate. Like everybody has a different backstory, and there's like 20, 25 different sheets that you have, and you play a different one each scenario. So it's just fun, right? And you start the game by filling out a Mad Libs. It says like, put in a woman's name, put in a form of torture, and you just like write this in, and then over the course of the game, as you unlock certain things, you read a story blip. You turn your little sheet over and you read a story blip, and it's like insert noun number 1, and it creates this goofy, ridiculous, silly story, which is actually incredibly fun. Incredibly fun. And so this is a sillier game than I was used to, but one of the main things that drives the game is in your infamy order, in your turn order here down the middle, you assign yourself to different challenges, to different tasks every round. And every round you have, like, red things have to be done. Blue things can only be done by one person. And then green things can be done by multiple people. And so what do? How do you decide? How do you prioritize? Well, corpse face over here, blue, is like, well, I want to chart a course because I want to do this searching skill because I'm really good at searching. But also, if I use a searching skill, it'll upgrade my searching ability. And I selfishly want to upgrade more. Maybe I'm terrible at searching, but I selfishly want to upgrade this thing more so I get a better story reveal. I do specific upgrades to get new story bits. And so it's just funny, and then you leave the last 2 people to do these 2 red mandatory tasks, and they're like, ah, dang it, I'll go feed the crew. But doing like dumb tasks like feeding the crew, you can make some interesting choices even with that. It is a crossroads game, and so there's a consistent amount of fun crossroadsy choices you get to make on every single one of your turns, which is probably one of my biggest complaints about Dead of Winter, why it's fallen off of my favorite games list, is it used to be in my top 10, but you get too few crossroads. There's too many of those cards that like only fire off occasionally, and you don't get to see a cool story arc. You see a cool crossroads every single round. You get to make some interesting choices, sometimes with every action even. So overall, I really like this game. We did a live stream of it with the Board Boys and a friend of theirs, John Merkel. So you can go watch that live stream over on the Board Boys podcast live stream page, and you can see. So like they put the map over here so we could all see it, and then it has like top-notch voice acting and sound effects that you can put on here, and it's just a really amazing implementation. And hear us chanting, revenge for Murky or whatever her name was. So anyway, Forgotten Waters is my number 4. A really cool game, really good digital implementation, given that they had less than like 2 months to put it together. So Plaid Hat deserves huge props for that. So let's jump ahead over here to my number 3. Yeah, Gloomhaven I heard is on Tabletop Simulator. That'd be interesting to try. So my number 3 is Keyflower. Jordan, who's in the chat, was actually in this game with us. Keyflower is an interesting mix of mechanisms. Here's a screenshot of a live play that we did with some of the Board Boys and Jordan from the No Cube Zone podcast, which you should also check out. Keyflower is interesting. It's a game where you're bidding on these tiles, and you have to bid with different colored meeples, but you control, like, you can have all of these different colored meeples. So it's not like I'm the red player and someone else is the yellow player. We all get an assortment of them. And then once you start bidding on a tile in a certain color, like this one, someone bid 1 yellow meeple, the rest of the people who are going to bid have to continue to use only yellow. Or you can activate a tile up here of your choice, but you have to once again use yellow. So whoever starts either activating the tile, almost like it was a worker placement game, or whoever starts bidding on it to eventually add it to their city, whatever color it starts with has to get carried through. And then you can activate tiles that you build into your city. You can spend meeples on other people's tiles in other cities, and you get to activate those really cool abilities, but you're giving them more meeples for next round to auction into action with. So it's an auction action game, I guess is the way that I would describe it. It's very cool. It allows you to do certain really dumb things, like you have to line up your roads perfectly, and if for some reason you just link up your roads in a dumb way that cuts off like this river area, you can never, like, you can't have a road hit a river or a road hit a blank green field space. So you can shoot yourself in the foot really dumbly in this game, but if you avoid those few things, it's really fun and it's just really good. So Keyflower is my number 3. It's a game that I'm enjoying and I'm coming back to, and I think it's really good. So my number 2, once again, this is a game that in the chat, Jordan will know. Oh, this is just another screenshot of how to build up your map and how to build up your city, and not to do what I did here, which was to leave this like scoring point tile at the end of the game off in this very end instead of like near other tiles where I could score points. Don't do stuff like that, because you'll be full of regrets and a sad man like me. So that's my number 3, Keyflower. Number 2 is Can't Stop. Once again, so all of these games have been, except for Forgotten Waters, these are all Board Game Arena games. And Can't Stop is actually, if you sign up for a Board Game Arena account, whether you do the free one, which I highly recommend, or if you do the premium one, which I guess I also recommend, use Board Game Arena, I think is the moral of my story. And if you like it, sign up for the premium membership so you can support a website that's doing a lot of good to provide very affordable, very easy online gaming. So I primarily play this game on my phone, so I didn't have a lot of screenshots, so I had to once again take like a live screenshot of it. This is we did a little play at the end of the Keyflower episode, I think. But Can't Stop is a brilliant game. It's a miracle that it works. It's so simple. You just roll 4 dice and you split them into 2 groups of 2, and then you can see over here, right? You can try and move up the number 4 track to get to the top of that one, or with this case 4 and or 9. But you can move up a max of 3 different tracks on a single turn, and once you roll a combination of dice that does not fit any of those 3 numbers you're moving up, you bust. So you can stop. Of course, the name of the game is Can't Stop, because you're always compelled to let's just roll those dice one more time. I bet that I can roll either a 5 or a 6 or a 9, you know. So you click on one of these, you move up, and it is just a very good, tense game with very few rules. Roll dice, pick some tracks to move up, try and hit the top of 3 of these tracks. And I just really like it. I've literally played over 100 games of it. I think 60 of them with Jordan from the No Cube Zone. We just have a perpetual challenge going on. You can play these games asynchronous, so you take a turn on your phone when you want, and then the other person gets a little notification, ping, hey, it's your turn, take it when you want to. They'll take it a few hours later or the next day, and then you get a ping, and you play it. And we've just had a perpetual game rally of Can't Stop going, and I've literally played this game 100 times, and it's just that fun and simple, and it's just good. Just good. Jordan says that he calls shenanigans the dice gods have forsaken him because he has a podcast called the No Cube Zone, and cubes are cousins to dice. So, if you want a simple game if you want a game that you can play with people who know how to play Yahtzee and don't want anything more challenging than Yahtzee, play Can't Stop instead, because it's that much more fun and that much less mathing, and you just get great moments like this next shot right here of when I busted on a fairly easy roll when I really needed to try and catch up to our friend Cam here in green. You know, it's a game of stand-up and moaning kind of moments, and so I love it. So anyway, that's my number 2, Can't Stop. I'm going to do an honorable mention here. I'm actually going to do 2. One of them I forgot to put into the presentation. So one of them is Alchemists. You can play that one actually on Boîte de Jeu, is the name of the website. It kind of looks like bootyjuice.com, or don't actually go to bootyjuice.com, please don't. I don't know how to spell it. It's French, obviously. Boîte de Jeu with an X at the end. Jukes dot something dot de dot frank or .com or something like that. So that one's Alchemists is a worker placement and deduction game. You have to try and figure out when you combine 2 different elements into one. You combine 2 different elements and you can either make a different color, blue, red, or green, or like a complete whiff, and it's either positive or negative, and you have to figure out these like combinations of things and try and sell correct potions and try and like post theorems to the Alchemic Academy, and you get points through that. And it's a really cool game, and the deduction is kind of interesting and challenging. So it plays very well. I think it plays very well in a digital platform because it's an app-driven game anyway. Players have to have an app to play it, so might as well just play it online. You can see in the comments, boitejukes.net. I actually had to approve that comment in the live chat, boiteju, because it looks like bootyjuice.net. And so, I mean, I could have hidden that and banhammered Jordan from the chats. It's that scandalous. So anyway, Alchemist on Boiteju is an honorable mention, and my other honorable mention is this one, Through the Ages, which has a great digital app. I enjoy this a lot. I think that it's an incredibly clever game that frustrates me and makes me need to take a break from it for a few weeks after every game. But it's a brilliant game. I see why this is Vlaada Chvátil's, like, many consider it his crowning achievement of game design. It's in the Board Game Geek top 10. It was sitting at number 2 for like forever. It is a very clever game where you are building up these different buildings and these different wonders of the world, and you're building up a civilization all represented through these cards. It has a randomized card lineup, which seems like it should be infuriating, but you have a lot of good choices constantly. You get these hands of like military and political cards that just represent so many different facets of building up a civilization, you know, and you can build up your military and whatnot, and try and carry out acts of aggression and war against other civilizations. I think it's really good. My preferred way to play this is against just a computer player because you can, like, against the computer, because you can just pound out a 4-hour game in like less than an hour. You just kind of boop, 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 touch stuff, you know, take your turns and whatnot. Paul Grogan over on the Gaming Rules channel has done a very good introduction video series to this game, to this app, if you haven't tried it. It is one of the most impressive games, though not my favorite, so I didn't make it into my top 5. So just to kind of repeat up to here, number 5 was... Oh, also, the tutorial for this game is hilarious. Vlada Chvátil is one of the most, like, comical but overall good board game rules writers out there. So, like, in the tutorial is teaching you how to increase your population. You hit this 2 food button and you pay food and you get more yellow stuff. It says, well, actually, creating new people is not that simple, but we'll talk about the birds and the bees later. Like, it's full of just... It's a fantastic tutorial. It is like a 40-minute long tutorial, but that's better than struggling through a 4-hour game, like physical game, to figure it out. Do the app. So my number 5 was... what was my number 5? Wow. Let's just go through this really quick. Russian Railroads. Drawn a blank. So yeah, number 5, Russian Railroads. Number 4, Forgotten Waters. Number 3, Keyflower. Number 2, Can't Stop. Mention my honorable mentions. And then my number 1 is Lagrunta. This is a game I really enjoy. It's a mix and a mashup of all sorts of mechanisms, and you just wouldn't, I don't know, almost wouldn't expect it to be so good. I'm really sorry. I just saw the delayed version of like the flipping through the different things. That was slightly unpleasant. So I should figure out how to make that better next time. Lagrunta is a mashup of all these different board game mechanisms that sound like it almost would be too much. Multi-use cards, and contract fulfillment, and special powers, and farm building, and pigs reproduce if you have multiple of them, and dice drafting, and a little bit of like area map control type stuff. But it comes together in a super, super smooth little game. And so this one I played originally on yukata.de, which is an older website and therefore has some graphical interface choices and user interface choices that I really disagree with, to the point where like during a play of Castles of Burgundy, we did a live stream of Castle of Burgundy from yukata.de. We personified the lack of sensible user interface with that game. We personified it into a character named Don Yukata. Don Yukata, I think we call him. Don Yukata is just, he's the embodiment of every bad design choice that you could have for a website. It rolled up into a person who wakes up from his bed and goes to his basement and purveys over his empire of just modems and probably like a bunch of ENIACs that run the website. And he probably also like runs drugs across the border. It's just, we just dislike Don Yukata and are pretty sure that he's secretly after us. But aside, with that aside, completely out of the way, the game is also on Board Game Arena recently, and I think that the interface there is much better, and it runs through the income phases much better, and I really like the Board Game Arena interface. But I would be remiss to say that Yukata didn't have it first, and its version, if you're familiar with that website, if you don't want to sign up for Board Game Arena, Yukata is also a good website and has a lot of really classic games, many of which aren't actually on Board Game Arena yet. So, I mean, and maybe never will be, who knows. But this game is all about these multi-use cards that you can slot onto your left side to be more farmlands that automatically grow more resources, or on the right side so you can hold more pigs and pay for more deliveries and hold more cards and stuff. If you slot them in the bottom, they become special powers that are unique to you over the course of the game. If you slot the cards in the top, they become contracts that you can fulfill. Fulfill contracts to put out your little pillars over here into the main map. You can make deliveries to your contracts or make deliveries to these outside buildings here that grant you special income and special abilities over the course of the game. And every round there's also a dice draft down here on the side of the board. And one of the most clever things to me is that you roll 2 dice per player plus 1 additional, so that every player will draft 2 dice over the course of the round, and then there'll be 1 left over. And that 1 die that's left over, everybody gets to activate. So it's fantastically smooth dice drafting. It's really compelling multi-use cards, and there's this little bit of like shared tension, I guess you would call it, with whoever had like when people are left with the last few dice, they know that whatever they leave out into the dice pool, everyone is going to be able to get. So it is a brilliant game. Andreas Odendahl is a fantastic designer, and he also did the recent Cooper Island, which I like a lot. Both games, Cooper Island and Lagrunta, require you to be very clever, and if you want to be able to succeed and give you lots of opportunities to be clever. Cooper Island is a much tighter game, ergo forcing you to be clever, otherwise you'll have less fun. Lagrunta, I think, is just kind of fun, and if you find yourself being more and more clever, it rewards you for that. So in that way, it almost feels, it to me has that same feel as like some of those Italian design house guys, like the Tascinis and Lucianis and Giglis and Brassinis and them, where the more clever you can be really clever given the restrictions that are out on the map. So I really like Lagrunta. Jordan says it might be like a top 20 game for him. I really have to consider how high this is going to go for me, because this is one of my favorite games. Not just favorite game that I've discovered digitally while in lockdown, but I really would consider actually buying and owning this game. It plays very well at 2. It plays, I think, just as well at 4, which is great. The tension of the map here is good at all player counts, and I just really like it. I really do. So this might be like I would say this is definitely a top 50 game for me, and it might be in the top 25, just based off of the like 7 or 8 plays I've had of it since lockdown began. So anyway, Lagrunta, one of my favorites, and like I said, I really recommend that if you are missing and you haven't been able to have game nights using these resources like Board Game Arena, my game group has switched basically, instead of meeting every Wednesday, since all this began, we've been playing games online. We've been using different resources. Spiel by Web, Spiel by Net is one of my least favorites of them, but they have good implementations of like this not Spielworks games. What is that called? Splotter games. They have like a few. I've played like Great Zimbabwe and Bus, and I hated both of them, but they are out there. So if you miss games like that, I say log onto social media and say, hey, does anyone want to play some games with me? Board Game Arena is for sure my favorite. Yukata, I like being able to make fun of Don Yukata. Booty Juice, Boîte de Jus is also good. So overall, I count myself very fortunate, very lucky that I've been able to play a ton of games, almost play more games since lockdown happened, because there's lots of people who are willing to jump onto a digital game with me. So anyway, that's my top 5 games that I've, new digital games that I've learned since lockdown. I'm going to try and make the next list less difficult for me to summarize. So anyway, if you have other games that you would like to mention, go ahead and throw those into the chat really quick. And if you want to check out our podcast, go check out wherever you listen to podcasts, Stitcher and all that stuff. And or if you go to websites like an old antiquated dinosaur like myself sometimes, shoutengine.com, Meeple Overboard. You can find us on Twitter at Meeple Overboard, where I'm very active because I don't have a job and I don't have other stuff to do. And email us over at meepleoverboard@gmail.com. Anyway, I don't really see anything. Jordan, any other games or anyone else in the chat want to throw out any games? If not, I will be signing off here. Also, a friend of mine, Cam, who you saw in some of the videos there, and I started a podcast called the CNC Board Game Factory, which we're going to be pitching different game designs, and eventually we'll be prototyping some of them and making them and whatnot. And it would be cool if you joined us. And if you want to, if you've always wanted to design a game, but you're not like set on like I'm going to design the next great game, come chat with us because we're complete amateurs and have no idea what we're doing either. We have a small idea, but I think it's going to be a fun project to work on. I see Jordan says Teotihuacan is the one he's learned in lockdown. What a treat that is. I love Teotihuacan. That would be on, like, if I were to make a list, I might do a list of, like, my top 5 games that are on Board Game Arena. Spoiler, that's my number 1. It's such a really, really elegant, fantastic, smart design. I would say that that Italian design house are becoming some of my favorite board game designers out there. Tashini in particular, because he's been doing a couple of really great games on his own. And I think that he's one of the most powerhouse combo people in that design house. Potion Explosion, yeah. I've played that only through the app before, and so it has a really good app, and it has a good, albeit goofier looking implementation on Board Game Arena. But my wife has been playing, Wendy's been playing tons of that. She just hops into random games with people because it's quick enough, it's small, it's just easy enough. If you want to see something stranger that we did, Jordan and I did he mentions Hawaii, which is the game that infamously Tom Vassell threw in the garbage can at the end of his review. He didn't like it that much. But it's a good game. It was really fun. Jordan and I played it. We did a live stream of it where, because Board Game Arena gives you all the links, like not links, but it obviously enforces the rules. It tells you, like, click on these things, move somewhere, gather this, do that, spend this action. We did a complete blind play of it where we didn't know the rules. And we just clicked around until we figured it out. And I still don't know what fish do in that game and why certain things are restricted and others. But, like, we just figured out the game as we played along with it. And so I think I want to do more of that. And so we'll see. Anyway, I think that's a good place to end. Those are some great suggestions as well. Those were very fun games to play online, some of which I already have known before, so they didn't make this list. But overall, I think that this was a really, really... I think this was fun. I like doing top 5 lists. They're just good in general. Spending some time chatting with people live. So if you liked this, please let me know. Comment or send me a message. I don't really care about YouTube analytics that much. Hit the like button if you want. I don't care, right? This is not my job. But if you want to, if you like this, if you want to see more presentation type top 5 lists like this in the future, go ahead and let me know. I'd really appreciate it. So anyway, my name is Chris from the Meeple Overboard podcast and now CNC Board Game Factory, and we do plenty of live streams and stuff, so come check out Mondays and Thursdays. We're trying to do streams with Jordan from the No Cube Zone and Rob and Cam from the Board Boys podcast and me here. And so just lots of fun. Thanks for watching. Anyways, I am going to sign off, so take care, y'all. I'll see you later. I forgot that you have to hit 2 separate end stream buttons, so I'm going to click the second one now.